Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you new here, my name is Donna, and for those of you not new, thank you so much for continuing to come back and support my channel. I appreciate all of you so very much. Today I am doing Palette Roulette number 98. In this series, I let an app choose a palette for me, which I utilize throughout the week. And then I come back to you, I show you some pictures of the looks I was able to create and swatches. And then also talk to you about my feelings on the palette, and then we pick a new palette. We did have this one here. This is the Milani Gilded Jade palette. This was brought to me by my aunt. I don't tend to buy a whole lot of drugstore makeup, so I think that she has put it into her design to make sure that my collection has just as much drugstore as it does high-end or luxury. So this is what the palette looks like. This is like this really dark green packaging with like a sunburst of vibrant greens, golds, light greens, minty greens. This is what the front of the package looks like, and this is what the back of the package looks like. It does show you that there are 9 different pans of shadow as well as 2 pans of highlighter in this guy. You open up the palette, it does have a nice size mirror on it, and this is what the palette looks like. Again, you do have 9 shadow pans and 2 highlighters, and I have to be honest, I didn't use either one of those highlights on my face. I do use them in my eye looks though quite consistently. This one being my favorite one to use in my eye looks, honestly, and it is what is on my eyes today. This palette ranks in at 4.2 stars on the Milani website. It does have 91 reviews that make up that 4-star content. And then Walmart actually has it for 4.5 stars with 189 reviews making up that 4.5 stars. I think that that's probably pretty accurate. I actually really had a fun time with this palette over the last week. This is a cruelty-free palette, and it is one of 3 different palettes that they came out with. They do also have a Gilded Ember from the Pantone Color of the Year for 2019. They also have a Gilded Violet. These did launch in 2019. That's why the Pantone Color of the Year for 2019 palette exists in this collection. This is 9 green and earthy tones in this one, whereas the other ones are a little more warm and then a little more purple. This is a drugstore brand. There are 3, I would say, finishes in this palette, one of which being more of a glitter, which is this one here. They do have it listed as a shimmer. I would say it's definitely a glitter. The rest of it is, a shimmer or a matte formula. There's nothing like super fancy about this. It does cost $19.99, but right now, if I remember correctly, on the Milani website when I was looking it up, it is on sale for $13.99. Some things I would say about this palette. I think that these colors are stunning. Greens are my favorite color, so any palette that has green in it, I automatically want to have in my life. These ones are really pigmented greens, except for this mint one, which we'll get into later. This green here stains. It stains your eyes. It's going to hang out for a while. As a matter of fact, it was on my eyes yesterday, so I had to do quite a bit of covering it up in my eye look today, which is why there is a little bit of the green in my eye look today, because I had to cover up the staining that happened on my eyes. Even with a primer, it will stain your eyes. That's not a deal breaker for me. I use palettes all the time that have shades that stain my eyes. So if it is a deal breaker for you, then note that. This does have the crazy pigmentation. I'm filming a little bit disjointed because my son is mowing the lawn and I'm trying to speak around the lawnmower sound in my background. So with that pigmentation with many brands that have super pigmented palettes, you do also tend to see a lot of fallout. This palette is no different. With that being said, it does kick up in the pan quite a bit too. This palette became a mess the more and more I used it. The shades in the pan are a smidge bit soft. Just to put it into perspective for you, like I might tap in and you can definitely see all the kickback in that pan. And that's just from me tapping in the smidge bit that I did. So imagine that also on your face, because that is legitimately what will happen with this palette. There is quite a bit of fallout. I just wore like a shield when I was putting my makeup on so that I didn't have the fallout all over my face, or did my makeup, my eye makeup, prior to my face makeup, which is something that I do pretty consistently anyways. I don't think that these are necessarily the worst. I don't think that they're the best. I do think that they're very good. I think that they blend like a dream. I think that this green one, this dark green one here, can tend to be a wee bit patchy, but that's going to be the same. I've had high-end palettes with those dark greens that do the same thing. You just have to really tap it on and then blend, and then tap it on. Know that you're going to have to continue to build the shadow if you don't want it to be patchy in certain areas. This mint green was pretty pointless, honestly. I did wear it in a cut crease look. I do have that look in a couple of videos that you maybe will see soon. And I literally, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this shadow is pretty dug into because I had to go in over and over. I really had to pack that mint green on for it to pop on my eyes and look like there was a color on there at all. And that was over the top of a concealer that did cancel out all the color in my eyes underneath. You would think that it would have popped better. It just didn't. I think that they could have put another, you know, a different shade of green in, or maybe even a different, maybe a darker brown than this one, because this is a very like reddish, warmish tone brown. Maybe a cooler tone brown I think would have been perfect for there. I did wear this eye look today because I tend to be the kind of person that goes straight for the color and the fun eye looks, but I did want to show that this is a very versatile palette. If you are looking for a neutral eye, you can definitely get that from this palette and still have your pops of color when you want them. I did really love this like shimmer green here. I wore it in an eye look a couple times. I don't think I got a picture of either one, which saddens me, but it is a really stunning, pretty awesome pop of color with just a brown in the outer V and this lighter brown in the crease. It looks amazing on that. It actually kind of turned out looking a little, the browns actually kind of turned out looking a little more olive because of this tone on the lid. I think you can totally get a versatile color story from this palette because of the browns that exist in here, and because the greens aren't like unheard of greens to wear in an eye look. This green in my eye look today is actually the Kelly green that's in here, and I mean it's super pretty. The highlights I think work better as shadows. I do think that they are beautiful, but I think like this one is a little too dark for my skin tone. As you can see it on my eyes, that is the color of this highlight. That is all that is on my lid. And then this one is beautiful, kind of like a white, like greeny gold. I do think that it's pretty, but it's just not the color of highlight that I want to wear on my cheeks. So I did wear both of them as lid shades, not, or inner corner and brow bone shades, not as face shades. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think that the world would tell you that there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely multitask your product if you can. The performance of this palette is not really impacted at all by a primer on your eyes. So what that means for me is that I can wear it with or without a primer, and it's going to perform the same way on my bare skin as it does on a primed skin, and it's going to last as long for me on my bare skin as it does on my primed skin. I know that I did just a real simple eye look last week on Thursday when I was in a couple of my stores. I had a really rough night. It was one of my first nights in a hotel all over again. I should have went home and slept at home, but I was exhausted, so I got this hotel room and then I couldn't freaking sleep. So I was up anyways until the butt crack of dawn. So getting up the next morning was super hard for me. I did have a meeting first thing in the morning, and then I went to stores. I started being in stores at 10 because I had to return my car by 6 p.m. and I just did a really basic, like, neutral green eye, and I did it without any primer because I had forgotten to pack primer in my makeup bag, and it lasted until I got home that night. I put it on at 7:30 in the morning, and at 7 o'clock at night, when I sat on the couch and that was the last thing I remembered, it was still on my eyes. So I was really shocked at that wear. I mean, that's 12 hours without a primer on. I think that these shadows last very well. In my experience with Milani, it hasn't always been that way, so I appreciate that. I appreciate that from this palette. Let's do some swatches. So I'm going to swatch first for you the two highlights. These are them. You can see this one is rather dark. How you can wear it on your skin, you would have to be a really deep skin tone to get away with it, I do think. So the first one, the lighter one, is called Aura, and this one is called Amber Glow. So we have Aura and we have Amber Glow. You guys can see they are just a smidge bit chunky as well, which is why I did not want to wear them on my face. Ain't nobody got time for these, you know, skin products showing off my old lady texture. That is not what I'm here for. So the first three shades in the palette are this one here, which is a light brown matte shade. You can barely see it. It is a wonderful, wonderful transition. So buttery soft. And then the second shade is that lime green shimmer named Try Me. And then the third one is that one, and it is called Mint Julep. It is that mint green matte that I said is pretty pointless. I hope that you guys can see that it's pretty pointless. So that is the two highlighters and the first row of shadows in this palette. I really do like that crazy chartreuse lime green shade. I really love that matte brown. The next three shades are these here. We do have the Envy of, which is it's really just a soft gold shimmer. Then we have this one, which is Gilded, and it is a yellow gold, also a shimmer. Then we have this one, which is called Lagoon, and you guys, this is a beautiful shadow. I think I utilized this in my collab that is going up later today. I love this shadow. They have it listed as a shimmer though, and I really feel like it's more of a glitter. The particles do fall onto your face, but it's not so horrible that I was afraid to use it. Y'all know that I'm kind of afraid of glitter. The last three are these guys. These are all matte, and they are the darkest ones, the more deepening shadows in this palette. And we do have Edible first, which is a dark chocolate brown. Then we have That's Deep, which is the matte green, such a dark, dark, dark green. And then we have Jaded, which is the green tone that's in my eye look today. I really do think that this is such a gorgeous palette, and I'm really happy to have it in my collection. When I first saw it, I was like, Milani, like, I love their blushes. I've had amazing experiences with Milani blushes, but the only palette that I have by Milani is like Gilded Rose, or maybe it's just Gilded. I didn't really love it. It was one of the very first Palette Roulettes that I did, probably in my first 20, something like that. And I didn't love it. Like, I felt like the shadows were soft. I felt like they didn't have a whole lot of pigmentation. It was also a palette that was kind of like champagne-y, maybe had some rose tones in it. I still have it, but it wasn't my favorite palette to use on my face. So when I opened this up, I really didn't have super high hopes for this palette, but I really do love this palette, and it's totally worth the price. I mean, it's a drugstore option for a really great green toned palette. I was able to create such amazing looks from this palette, both neutral, like what some people would consider everyday or work appropriate looks, as well as crazy out of the box, like green cut creases. So I really love this palette. I will keep it in my collection. I've been going through this like green shadow phase lately. I don't even know why. I don't like green on my eyes, but I have been going through a green shadow phase lately, so it will stay in my collection probably until that green shadow phase is gone. I can see me picking up this palette over and over again for just this lime green here and this lagoon shade here. Each one of the highlighters in this palette is 0.11 ounces of product, which isn't a bad size for the highlights. I mean, it's kind of small. It's definitely not full size in what you would pick up in, say, a higher end, but I would be willing to bet that this is the same size as a full size highlight in their brand, or maybe even like Wet n Wild. Each one of these pans of shadow is 0.02 ounces of product, which is, they look the same size, but it's about half the amount of product that is what is in a ColourPop shadow. It's less than 20 bucks, you guys. Right now you can pick it up at Milani for $13.99. I definitely think that it's worth it. So with that being said, we're going to pick our next palette. For those of you that do not know, or new to my channel, or this is the first palette roulette that you are checking in on, the way I choose my palettes is by putting my palettes into an app that I picked up on my Play Store, and the app is called the Decide Now app. It looks like this. It's just a Wheel of Fortune app. We started off with me putting all of my palettes in here. As we started utilizing them in Palette Roulette, I have pulled them out. As I get new palettes in and have hauled them with you guys, I do put them in. So in order to pick a palette, we just spin the wheel by pressing that button right there. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, so this is the Huda Sapphire Obsessions palette. I am gonna go grab that. I will be right back. All right, guys, this is the Huda Sapphire Obsessions palette, and I haven't used this yet. I did pick this up. I got it, I think, in a set of stuff that I bought from Ipsy for like 13 bucks, so that was even half the price of this palette regular price, and then also received a bunch of brushes or something with it as well. This is what the palette looks like. I'm green to blue, like two colors I don't typically use on my eyes very often. As you can see, there is not really any kind of like blending shades in here. There's no neutrals in here whatsoever. I am excited to use it, do not get me wrong, but I will be utilizing my single shadows with this to just kind of create some kind of neutrality to my eyes as well. But I can't wait for the eye looks that I come up with. This is definitely not going to be one of those palettes that I come to you and say it's super versatile. Like, you could get a day look or a work appropriate look just as well as you can get a crazy eye look out of it. That's probably not going to happen. But I'm so excited to use this palette and so excited to come to you guys next week with my thoughts on this palette. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Are you doing this palette roulette with me? I do know I have another friend that just started doing it as well. Her name is Caitlyn. Her channel name used to be Madness Nail Art. I do believe that she just changed it to Madness Makeup. So I'll link her channel down there in the description box, as well as my palette roulette series playlist, so that you guys can also go check her out, show her some love. She just did her first one and she did a little spin on it, made it her own, and I'm super proud of her for doing that, and I just can't wait to see what she does with the palette roulettes. But please go check her out. I hope that September was amazing for you all. I do hope that October is going to be even more so amazing for you all. We are in spooky season, we are in Halloween time, you know, a lot of Jack Skellington and pumpkins and hocus pocus and amok. So with that being said, I do hope that you guys are having an amazing day. I hope that you are all staying well out there. I also hope that you are wearing your mask, because we're never going to get out of this stuff if we don't start wearing our masks, y'all. I also hope that you guys are loving each other, but loving each other from afar. And until next time, guys, bye. Oh God, the lawnmower. It's my nemesis. This lawnmower